Hello, everyone. So it's a hot topic, generative AI, and everybody's talking about that. But we don't have much data, so we want to just do some study research to just find out if it is working for students and stuff, and if it is working, how it is working. So we just wanted to find out. Stop talking and just give us some data. That's what we said for the research. Who are we? So I'm Ahmet. I have a PhD in Learning Technology and Education from the University of Nottingham. I'm interested in educational technology, and my colleague from Singapore, Maylyn, Assistant Dean and Faculty Talent responsible for providing participation from Singapore Institute of Management. So we together want to evaluate how generative AI works and how can we teach students and staff using such tools and spaces. So the aim is to assess the impact of AI in microlearning activities. So it's a distance education, asynchronous learning. So our students are around the world, so we want to see how we can change the perception and upskill our students. Also, the result of this project, we want to see what kind of framework we can develop. So all education institutions in higher education can use this framework to develop their own resource or teach their students how to use generative AI. All right, I'm not going to delve into literature at all because it's boring, but I will just mention just one thing, which is not seen, but here in the title it says Bloom's two sigma problem. Okay, so it's a very easy to read chart, but I will explain it. So what they did as a research is when there is 30 students and one teacher, the learning curve happens like that. But when it is a one-to-one tutorial, it's like two standard deviation better than what happens in a classroom, a traditional classroom. So what they say is one-to-one tutorial is the best when it comes to learning. That's easy. We all know that. That's not a kind of like a shocking result, but Bloom called it problem. Why is the problem? It's a problem because one-to-one tutorial is not cost effective. It's not scalable, and majority of the people in the world can't afford one-to-one tutorial. So we are not claiming that we will get generative AI on board and we will reach to that stage. We don't believe that generative AI or technology can replace human beings. But what we want to find out is, and Bloom and express, this is a problem, this is an issue for the majority of the world. But we want to find out how we can amplify learning of this group who receives 1 to 30 or 1 to 100 education and at least get somewhere in here. So that's the kind of the worry, concern, or kind of potential opportunity that generative AI is offering us. So what we did, we just didn't want to guess if it's going to work or not. We wanted to kind of follow a procedure. So we used a validated pre and post survey. So we applied the pre-survey to determine our participants' AI literacy level curve. Then we introduced them our microlearning activities, and we again did a post survey to the same scale. And then we also did interviews and focus groups, but we want to get more insights from our participants. Okay, so what is the intervention? So if you are designing an activity around generative AI, it's so difficult to know what to tell students, what to teach students. It's quite a delicate issue. There's academic integrity. And we were quite worried and puzzled how we can introduce such tools to our students. So UNESCO came to help. They are one of the third institutions who created a framework there around how we can use generative AI in learning. And as you can see, remember the two sigma problem. The framework develops on mostly kind of or mimics one-to-one tutorial. So here they say you can use generative AI as a portability engine. to critic opponents, like to debate with someone like generative AI can do that. Collaboration coach, guide on the site, personal tutor, co-designer, study buddy, motivator, or assessor, dynamic assessor. So as you can see, UNESCO kind of worked out this guideline, and the roles that generative AI could play is kind of really very close to one-to-one tutorial. It's like a study buddy, like it can answer, it can respond. So we used this framework, mainly this framework, and the problem that Bloom offered, like it's a problem that you can't deliver one-to-one teaching, and created our resources. So continuing from the intervention, so we have designed around 11 microlearning activities, from AI literacy to generative AI tools, prompt engineering, AI as an examiner, as a study buddy, debating buddy, possibility engine, of course, AI hallucination and bias. That's an important factor. And some quick start guide for ChatGPT. So this is the intervention. So we want to move beyond basic generative AI introduction. So you can simply show the technology and tell students, here it is. You access from here. This is the website. You click here and upload a file. You write here. But we wanted to go beyond that because it's not what we want. We want to encourage critical thought. That's a big problem, copying and pasting from AI. We want to promote reflective learning around bias, limitation. We want to connect theory to practice using AI as an examiner activity. We want to support collaborative exploration. So while we designed our intervention, we tried to focus on, and these are the snapshots from the microlearning activities. We want to design something not tool-centric, because it used to be like Wikipedia, MOOCs, in the past. It's generative AI. It was augmented reality, metaverse. So it will change. So, but the one thing that stays is the theory, critical thinking, microlearning. We focused on that. Here are some more snapshots about that. So AI as a possibility engine activity, for example, inspired from that UNESCO's guideline. Study by the examiner, AI hallucination. These are some snapshots from. Again, we wanted to kind of students to trigger some sort of critical thinking and debating abilities. So that's what we want our students to have, those skills. Every education institution wants students to have debating skills, creative writing. And this is one of the examples from that, how you can use ChatGPT or other tools as a Socratic debating part. So we wanted to kind of mitigate the issue of being asynchronous activities boring, because it's boring. I mean, they study by their own. They need to go through them alone, and you can't just ensure that they read a bulk of text. So we try to make it a bit interactive. Here you see an example from those activities. A lady is talking through a scenario. So students go through, they have two options, they choose one of the options and correct or incorrect. So it's just testing how you can use AI as a study buddy with which prompts you should use. So it's like a scenario going. Again, we wanted to kind of make it real. So we found some real examples from media. Like here in this example, this is a BBC article about how a generative AI recommends someone will fix the admin process. So that's a big issue. There are also activities like how generative AI is biased, because human beings have prejudice, we are biased, and the things we put on the internet is biased, and generative AI using that. That's a big problem. So those have to be aware. So that was the intervention. Some snapshots of intervention. So this is still an ongoing project. It's a code project that we are running with Dr. Maylyn from Singapore. So this is just an interim report. And I just wanted to mention a bit about survey that we used, because I think it is important. It has some subcategories to assess students and staff's AI literacy before and after. So it has technical proficiency, critical evaluation, communication proficiency. That's what we are kind of measured before and after. Creative application and ethical competence, of course. these are the subcategories of the scale we use to assess students and staff's AI. They answered questions around those subcategories, and we created our interview questions around those things as well. Okay, results. So that's another intervention. So we have some quantitative and qualitative analysis results. As I said, this is still ongoing, but we have some nice results. So we compared, as I showed you, the subcategories of those survey. We have technical, ethical, communication, creative, and ethical themes around. And all of the categories showed a really nice increase. There's a significant increase of pre-test post-test. So this is the blue bars people then pre-test, pre-survey. So what's the kind of participants were thinking about their AI literacy level and what they think after going through those activities. The book orange bar window. As you can see, there is an increase. There are also questions around like whether they received an other AI or something like that. All the participants said, but in today's world, it's so difficult not to be exposed to generative AI conversation. So it is highly likely that they have been talking about it. They haven't exposed. It's not just like our activity. Probably overall conversations around them affected their AI literacy, but it helps guiding students, giving them resources. We have some individual results. This is more interesting than those subcategories. We found some interesting kind of nuances. So you can see that here we have 31 participants individual results. So which individuals think that their AI literacy before and after changed. You see the blue bars like pre and orange bar post survey. And as you can see, there's like a really nice increase in the AI literacy. That's not interesting. Okay, it was, so what? But the interesting bit we find is yellow, highlighted. I highlighted those participants. All of those participants are staff members. And for example, let's see P26. This participant thought that AI literacy level was here, but after going our resources, it decreased actually. And the same for all highlighted participants. This is very interesting. So what I thought was they just did the survey haphazardly. We don't care sometimes filling out the survey. So, but luckily we have interviews. So I was able to ask 4 of these participants. Okay, for example, here, you thought that your AI literacy level was there, and you went up through our activities and it decreased, like it was a negative effect. But what they said was very interesting. The more, this is the common thing, I guess. The more I learned about this, now I think that my awareness of, I don't think I know very well about this technology. So they expressed that they kind of have now this awareness that we don't know how these technologies work. And the more you read about them, the more you use them, it's becoming really scary. And what they were thinking about their level was there. But now, with the more knowledge, they think that their level here. This is a healthy kind of trajectory. So what we see here, I would have just said that, you see the students, how the AI literacy increased, that's very nice. But actually, what we are thinking now is this is quite risky. So students think that they are going through some activities using ChatGPT for a while, put them very nice, for example, this student place about the AI literacy. But what we think is that this trajectory, like thinking that your level is here, we know more about these tools and you kind of think that now, actually, I'm not very good at it. Like you see this with drivers, The first time you drive, you are very careful, you observe everything around it, you are a bit afraid, but after 5-10 years, you're just so relaxed that accidents start to happen because you think you are pro. So that's the issue we see here. So while this is how the trajectory, these students are at risk probably getting, there's a potential of getting caught of using generative AI plagiarism. So that is something you need to be careful. Okay, that was the quantitative bit, and we also some interview results. So two researchers, me and May, analyzed interviews separately just to make sure that they're right. And there are some themes to be found out. Students and staff think that optimizing AI as a learning tool through effective prompting. So what they said is, it is the prompting that makes the difference. Giving the command, how to give command to generative AI. So if you ask a question about something, it means that you're interested, you know about it. You can't create a nice question, a quality question. It means that you're kind of not in that area. This is the same here. You create good prompts, means that you are using it very well. So that's one area. Staff actually was the kind of staff interviewed were so worried about critical engagement and academic integrity. So this didn't come up with students. So this shows that students are not quite optimistic, staff are very critical. So they just said verify, verify, and verify. You have to check everything, you need to be sure. My one recommendation is not to be so attached to AI. Let your brain face challenges. So the cognition, metacognitive work came out a lot. That staff wants students somehow, when engaging with AI, they want to kind of the important part to be done by students. Another theme is institution support, equitable access, and structured training. That's why especially students want from their institutions. They just want scaffolding, guided learning from their institutions, because they are also aware that there's a learning curve. So some of them want preparatory modules, like specific courses, and like they want their lecturers, academics, to integrate AI tools within their subject rather than as a separate additional resource. And this has come up a lot as well. Paying for such tools can create an imbalance between countries, less developed countries like Cameroon. So he made a very good point about when they are aware of the kind of potential of such tools, they now know that the paid one, the subscribe to ChatGPT Plus or ChatGPT Pro, which is $200 a month, could do a lot of things. They know the potential, but they know they can't access those tools, paying that much money every month. But there are probably people who can afford that. And the gap between those students and others will probably increase. So that's another problem with generative AI. That's digital equity, quite important. Some other theme, like everybody found it engaging, good learning outcomes, content was relevant, they liked that their awareness increased. Some of the students' concerns were around plagiarism. They know that they use generative AI, and we talk a lot about plagiarism. So they're afraid that if there is a really nice working AI detector, there's not. So they're worried about that, and they want guidance. So that's another thing. So I will just quickly go through some of the partners. And staff, again, this is the second researchers, the first researchers analysis. The 5 academic staff emphasized that critical evaluation needed, early awareness of limitations, creative thinking, verification strategies, ethical concerns. So as you can see, while staff think about such things, students are more concerned about how they can use the coursework. There's an imbalance between what staff think students want from these tools. All right, so as we said, I mean, we just didn't want to measure our activities impact, but also we wanted to develop a kind of framework to inform what we could do further in the future around these tools, because they are staying with us. And we will have to use somehow in our assessments when teaching, or doing formative assessment or summative assessment. Maybe we will have to push, of course, students. You have to use generative AI when doing good work, because we know that you will use. But I want to see the process of you using it, rather than interested in the end result. So we will now focus on these four main concepts developing our tools. So metacognition came a lot. I mean, kind of mentioned a lot. We need to somehow embed metacognitive awareness while offering these resources. Of course, Bloom's taxonomy is there. It's just a must-have. But we need to talk about 4.0. So we need to think about how we can add that Bloom's taxonomy to dialogic nature, because now, more than ever, technology can have a dialogue with us. So we should amplify that and use that. As students want learning, there's scaffolding, guided learning, step by step, how they can use these technologies. And lastly, digital equity and social justice. So that's very important, sustainability. So probably institutions, education institutions, rather than offering or recommending students, okay, you use it, but use in that way, they should develop their own in-house generative AI tools, fed by their own academic papers, student guides, and students can really access those resources from those tools. Otherwise, the gap between those who can afford and who can't is day by day. So we already took some actions. We created another microlearning activities. We will evaluate this as well around prompt engineering. And we just wanted to embed those frameworks within that. So we thematized this training around different themes. So we created different research papers around prompt engineering and found nice quality prompt patterns that students can use to use the students. So while learning about how to prompt a generative AI tool, how to do better prompt, students could use such different strategies doing so. So this is just the beginning and action we took from our study. And that's all. Thanks very much, guys.